Hello, my name's Faye Grace, and today I'm going to be doing my reading wrap-up from July 2022 to December 2022. I actually originally filmed this back in October. I filmed from like July to September reading wrap-up. But then I never edited the footage, and so recently I tried to go back and edit the footage. I was like, oh, it's fine, I can just upload it now, whatever. I didn't really care. But I found out halfway through the recording, my audio, split, basically, so you can only hear from one of the microphones. I don't know what happened, but I have, several mics on my phone that I use to record, and it was, muted for the rest of the video, and even just turning the volume up, in post, it was just not gonna be well. It wasn't gonna produce well, so I decided I'm gonna refilm this video. So yeah, we have a lot to get through today because I read 9 books in July. So yeah, I actually want to go over that real quick. I think that would be cool. So in July I read 9 books, August I read 1, September I read 2, October I read 5, November I read 0, which is the first month that happened all of 2022, and December I read 1 as well. To put it fair, for August and December I was going through the beginning of college, moving out from my home here and into my apartment a couple hours away, and then December I was going through finals as well as working 35 hours a week or something crazy. I don't remember, maybe it was 25, but either way I was working a lot of hours a week, and I didn't really have time for reading. So yeah, November I have no excuses. I was just a lazy person and decided not to read that month. Not necessarily consciously, it's just one of those things where I didn't put the time into it, and so I didn't get to read, but we're gonna go through, chill down my spine. We're gonna go through the books I read and what I thought about all of them. Some of these I actually do have videos up on my channel. Actually, maybe I don't. I may have some of the July ones in my reading vlogs, but I don't believe I have any of, the content of, what I thought of each of these books online. I need to brush my hair. Sometimes I, forget to brush my hair in the morning. I don't know why, but it's one of those things that it just slips my mind so easily. So, yeah. Yeah, let's get into that. The first book I read in July was The Goose Girl. This is a reread. It's by Shannon Hill. It's one of the classic books. You can tell I've had it for a long time because if you can see, there's, pen on the cover from my younger sister. But this book is actually signed. All of my Shannon Hill books are signed by Shannon Hill. I freaking love Shannon Hill. She's I think I'm genuinely dying. I think I'm just, I think my body is giving up. Anyway, love Shannon Hill. This series isn't, I look back on it and it's, not the highest form of writing. It's YA, but it's really good, and I honestly still really enjoy reading it. My copy is super beaten up. I kind of want to get the new covers, because I did a giveaway with the new covers for my birthday in July, and the new covers are gorgeous, but I have the second edition covers, and I kind of love them. They got real people on them, which is, kind of weird and iffy. I don't really love the way real people look on book covers, but I've just grown up with them, and they've always been on my shelves, so I kind of just love them. So, yeah. This book is a 5-star read for me. It's incredibly good to just go back and reread. It's very nostalgic now, because the first time I read it, I believe I was either 8 or 9, maybe 7, maybe 10, I don't know, somewhere in that range. The book was published before I was even born, so, but it's just such a nostalgic read now. It's what got me into my love for reading and my love for writing. Oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. When I was a kid, about 2014, I wrote basically a fan fiction that was half Frozen, half these books, this series, The Books of Baron. And, if I ever get to, some crazy subscriber amount, I will bring my friend, on, and we will read it together. And that's, and they don't know I just said that, but I'm gonna make them do that with me, because that'd be hilarious. Alright, 5-star read. Very much recommend it. Content warnings for, a bunch of stuff. I'd look it up. This one surprisingly has a decent amount of content warnings for things. So if I would say the biggest one is animal death. If animal death bothers you, There's a couple chapters you may want to skim, but other than that, you know, Goose Girl. She's a I didn't even tell you the concept. She's a princess of this one kingdom, finds out her mother, this is like the first chapter, finds out her mother, after her dad dies, she finds out her mom signed a treaty with another kingdom to send her to marry the other person, and on her journey, she gets kind of sidetracked, I guess is the way to put it. And you learn about her sidetracked journey. So, yeah. Amazing book. We're just gonna set them on the floor because I don't really have... I would use my book cart, but I put every single book I haven't read on it, and it is completely full. It is, like, no joke. I will have to do a bookshelf tour before I go back down to where I'm living. It is completely full. It is ridiculous. I have... And that doesn't even have all my books that I need to read on it, so... It's a whole thing. Okay. Next book I read in July was Ready Player One. I actually listened to this on an audiobook while I was working, so this book now I just associate with doing the dishes. Not any, like, fault of the book. I mean, I don't like the book. I gave it 3 stars, I think. It's not for me. I'm not a big 80s nostalgia person. I'm not huge on it. Like, I understand that, like, it's a whole thing, and if you're into 80s nostalgia, my thoughts can be summed up by, there's a great video by Jenny Nicholson about her thoughts for Ready Player One, the movie in particular, but, like, she talks about the book, she read the book, and I think, it's a great, like, video summing up very similar thoughts to why I don't like the book. I just think the way they characterize women is a little gross, and then there's only, like, one female character in the first place. Like, why do you have to characterize her weirdly? I don't know. I think some of the stuff's kind of cringy, honestly, like, the freaking, like, leet speak that's in here every once in a while. I'm like, I understand that, like, it's an internet thing, but it's still kind of cringy. I don't know. If you like this book, I have nothing against it, but I just personally didn't love it. I'm still gonna have it in my classroom once I start teaching, because I think it's a book that can get kids reading, but other than that, I mean, I would never have read this physically. That's all I'll say. I'm glad I listened to an audiobook, because I would not have read it physically. So, yeah. The next book I read was by Rainy Telgemeier. Telgemeier. I always say her name wrong. I swear I always say her name wrong. It's Sisters. It's the sequel to her graphic novel Smile. As an older sister, I really like this book. I think it's like 4 or 5 stars. I can't remember what I gave it. I rated it pretty highly. I tend to rate my graphic novels, though, a lot higher than I rate any other books. I think it's easy to do a graphic novel mediocre, but it's really hard to do one great. But my scale when I, like, rate books doesn't really include a great, honestly. It's like, my 5-star is, it was good, I enjoyed it. It's not, like, that hard to get a 5-star with me, basically. This book's about her and her family going, on a trip. It's also about her and her sister, but it's about, there's a piece of tape on this book. I got it secondhand, so that doesn't surprise me, but there's a piece of tape on this book. I just realized that. And it's not going to come off in one piece. Fun times. They're going on a trip to visit family. There's, like, parental disagreement stuff going on. It's honestly a really good book. I want to read more of her books. I really like Ghosts by the same author. And I do have Guts, which is the 3rd book in this series, and I need to read that. But other than that, I'm, like, really excited to get more into this series. Also, I just realized the light from the book window is hitting the book and then, like, reflecting on my face. Interesting. All right, moving on. 4 or 5 stars. I don't remember what I gave it. I'm too lazy to look it up right now. Next book I read was Howl's Moving Castle. I read it for a library copy. Freaking loved that book. It was so good. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. I have actually never seen Howl's Moving Castle. I really need to, but I freaking loved the book. It was so cute. It was just this little slice of life fantasy. I think I talked about it a couple of times in my reading vlogs. It's really cute. Honestly, I really wish I had a copy of it. I think I will have to get myself a copy of it at some point. But it was very good. I really like Sophie. Howell is eccentric, you know, just a fun character. They're all really fun characters. I really like Michael, which is, I don't even know if, I've heard Michael's not even in the movie, so that's kind of a little, but I'm sure the movie will be good anyway. I know I listen to the soundtrack a lot, actually, when I study, but I don't think I've ever seen it, so I need to see it. But that book was, 4 or 5 stars. Either way, if you follow me on Storygraph or Goodreads, you're able to look this up, so yeah, if you really want to know, like, my actual rating, my thoughts on it was good. Next book I read was another book I listened to on audiobook while at work doing the dishes, and it was Heartless by Marissa Meyer. And that book is interesting. I've never actually read the Lunar Chronicles, which is her more famous series. I own the first 2, have not read them. I was given the first 2 by my younger sister, but I have not read the Lunar Chronicles. But that book is a retelling of like an Alice in Wonderland story. And it was really cute. It was like a very YA fantasy, so I didn't love it. I probably would have loved it if dog's working. I probably would have loved it if I had read it when I was younger, but I didn't, so. But it was pretty good. I think I rated it 3 or 4 stars, maybe 5. No, I didn't rate it 5. I'm not 5. I think I rated it like 4 stars. So yeah. Next book I read after that was Anna Burning by Shannon Hill, sequel to The Goose Girl. I freaking love this book. So good. This is my least favorite in the Books of Baron series, but sometimes it's also my favorite. I don't know. I freaking love Anna as a character. She's just such a, I love her, you know. This book is about Anna Dory's friend from the first book. So Anna Dory is the main character of the first book. Anna is her friend, and Anna is from the forest. Anna lives in the forest. She lives in the city as well, so there's just, it's hard to describe a book without spoiling the first book, so, like a sequel, it's hard to describe a sequel like that. So, I don't know, I love this book. It's still a 5-star read for me. It is not my favorite in the series, but I still freaking love it, and I'm so glad that it was written, because my favorite book in the series is the last one. And without this one, the last one would not have existed. So, as much as this one is meh to me, as meh as a 5-star read can be, I really, really am glad it was written. So, yeah. Next book was, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I have a Book of the Month copy, which is just freaking, I love Book of the Month. I wish I was still doing it, but it's just not financially viable for me in college. It is a lot cheaper than other books, so if I was buying books, I would be doing Book of the Month, but as I'm on a book buying ban right now, like, I'm not buying any books. I can't, well, yeah, other than textbooks. But my copy got kind of beat up because I took it on vacation with me to Lake Tahoe. But V. Schwab, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, basically the whole story is that, not the whole story, the premise of the story is that this girl lives in the 1700s in France. There's an arranged marriage happening, and she doesn't want it to happen. She wants to experience the world. She wants to experience everything, and she sells her soul to the devil in order for eternal life. And he says, okay, you can have eternal life, but every time somebody stops seeing you or like walks out of the room, they will forget they ever saw you. So that's the premise of the story. I gave it 4 or 5 stars. I think I gave it 4 stars. It could have impressed me more if they'd gone like a little bit further, but it was pretty good. Yeah, I recommend it. My pile is getting like more lopsided as I put more books on top of it. Next book I read was another one I listened to on audiobook. It was Coraline by Neil Gaiman. It was only like a 2-hour listen because it's a 4-hour audiobook and I listen on double speed. So it was really good. It was really spooky. I still can't believe it's a children's book. I think it's so funny that like the whole story of his daughter being like, oh yeah, it's such a good book, and then like years later her being like, no, that book terrified me. Like, why did you read that to me, Dad? I think that's hilarious. But I really liked it. I gave it like 4 or 5 stars. I don't give everything 5 stars. I don't know why I keep saying 4 or 5. I gave it 4 stars. It was pretty good, though. It was indeed spooky. If you've never read, seen, heard of Coraline, Coraline is the story of this girl who moves into a new house, finds this tiny little miniature door in her living room, opens it up, goes inside, and there's another mother. Another mother is essentially the idea of like a mom that's not quite your mom. It's spooky. It's definitely a good horror story if you have like younger kids that are interested in horror, but you don't want them like doing stuff with gory horror. Probably a good read. But honestly, it's probably too scary to give to most children, I feel like, because it spooked me. And I don't really get spooked that much, but I also don't read horror. I tend to read thrillers, so I give it 4 stars. And the last book I read in July was The Hunger Games, which I did give 5 stars. It's by Suzanne Collins. Freaking loved this book. I still have not read The Kitchen Fire, though. And it is January, the end of January. I kind of like to give myself space between reading sequels of books, just because it sometimes overwhelms me to have all the story all at once. And I like to be able to distinctly, like, put each story into its little box instead of having it all blend together. So, yeah, I really like The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games is a very popular book if you've never heard of it. Basically, it's very similar to Battle Royale from Japan, where these children are selected and told to fight to the death in a like ritualistic sacrifice, basically. So yeah, and there was one winner, and so everyone is competing to be the one winner, and yeah, very good. I definitely, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I might pick up Catching Fire later today, but who knows. Alrighty, August I read 1 book. I already said that, but I'm just restating it for my own benefit. August, I read Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. I've never read anything else by Tiffany D. Jackson, but I definitely want to pick up more by her because this was really good. Huge content warning for child abuse and child neglect, and, you know, other things. I would look up the content warnings if you're somebody who does get triggered by books. Like, that is this one's a huge one, even though it's meant for middle grade and it is a YA story. It is an intense read. I freaking loved it, though. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was so good. It's such an amazing look at just how people brush off children. I think children a lot of times notice things that adults don't even think about. And it was such a good story about, like, hey, maybe you should listen to this little girl. Maybe she knows more than she is, you know, maybe she knows more than you guys all realize. But it's a story about Monday, and, well, it's a story about, oh my gosh, what is the main character's name? Claudia. Okay, main character's name is Claudia. Her friend Monday, though, goes missing, and she's gone for, like, a year. And so you basically get to see, like, when everything happened, how the whole storyline plays out, and what finds out when they find her. So, yeah. Next book I read was September. It was Mouse. Just the first volume, which, by the way, French Flaps. This book was like, what? How much was this book? $17? I mean, like, okay, it's a thin book, so $17 doesn't seem expensive, but, like, it's not French Flaps. It is graphic novel, so, like, it's a lot of, you know, pictures and all that. It's like, it's an amazing amazing quality book, in my opinion. One of my close college friends actually had to read it for one of her classes. I don't remember, but I may end up having to read it for one of my classes, so I already have the copy, though, so that's kind of nice. But it is the story of Nazi Germany coming into Poland and, you know, taking over Poland and putting a bunch of people into concentration camps. It is told via, like, everyone is mice or cats or pigs. I believe other people are, there's other animals in here as well, but it's the story of this journalistic guy talking to his dad about how it was like to be in these camps. There's a sequel. I need to read it really badly, but I'm on a book buying ban, as stated before, so yeah. But it was really good. I gave it 5 stars, and it's like one of the only nonfictions I really read this year. I feel like I didn't read many nonfictions, and it is technically fiction. It's fictionalized, I guess. It's historical fiction, but I count it as nonfiction. So, yeah. All right. Next book I read in September was The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. I don't know if I'm saying her name right at all. I'm very bad with pronunciation, especially like Spanish pronunciation. This book was insanely fun to read, but I took forever to get through it. Some of the chapters are literally like this is a chapter. That's a chapter. This book took me a month to get through. It's like 230 pages. Not even 230. It's 110 pages. And it took me a month to get through it. That's how you know I was in school. I do not read when I'm focused on school. But it's really good. I believe I actually have to read some of Sandra Cisneros' other works for one of my classes this semester. So I honestly am really glad I read this last year. Just so I have that kind of base of understanding. I believe, yes. Okay, so it's the story of this neighborhood in Chicago. And it just talks about, like, the different neighborhood people. So, like, there's a woman who doesn't speak any English, and so, yeah, there's a girl who writes poetry. There's this one girl what was her name? Anyway, there's just all these people in the neighborhood, and you get to learn all about them. And yeah, it's an interesting book. I really liked it. It was written in it was written recently enough that I wouldn't consider it a classic, but it's pretty good. It is written in 1984, yeah, but it's really good. My mom actually read it in high school, and that's why I picked it up in the first place. I believe I gave it 4 stars. So yeah, I would pick this up if you're interested in just literary history. It's basically a classic. So, despite being written in the 80s, it's basically a classic. First book I read in October was The Girl in the Sea by Molly Knox not Oxford. Why do I want to say Molly Knox Oxford? Who is that? I have no clue. By Molly Knox Ostertag. It is a sapphic romance between a girl and a not mermaid, but basically a mermaid. I'm just gonna describe it vaguely as a mermaid. Very cute art, like insane. Like some of the art in here is so adorable. Like look at that. It's just gorgeous. Like it's colored. It's it's really good. It deals with themes of family trauma and issues and stuff like that, as well as being LGBTQ. So yeah, I gave it I originally gave this 5 stars, and then I realized I was giving out 5 stars really easily, and I was like, it's a 4-star read. It could have been better. There's hints at a sequel, however, it has not been announced yet, and I would really like it if they would announce a sequel, because that would be super nice, because the way it ends makes me frustrated. In a good way. Like, in a good, frustrated way, but, like, it still makes me frustrated. So, yeah. 4 stars. Girl in the Sea. Next book I read, The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. It was a Book of the Month book as well. It's not, but it's like Christmas colors. Okay, here's my thing. I understand that this little square right here is like red-orange. I feel like they could have gone with a better combination color for this combo color for this book, to be perfectly honest. But I also understand because there is like red text on the inside jacket, so it reminds me of Christmas, and it makes me laugh. So yeah, Simone St. James wrote The Book of Cold Cases. While I do own it physically, I actually listened to this on audiobook just because I was at school. I didn't have the physical book with me, so, and it was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. It was a good thriller. Definitely did not predict the ending. I tend to I get close to predicting endings, but I haven't gotten close enough. I didn't get close enough with this book for me to, like, think I ruined it. So, what did I write about it? I'm going to show off my book journal because I don't know if I'm going to do a book journal video. This is what I did for The Girl in the Sea. This is all available on my Instagram as well. This is what I did for The Book of Cold Cases, and I'm just reading off kind of what If you like true crime, I would seriously recommend this book because it does deal with the true crime aspect of stuff. You know, the main character is a true crime writer, and she's just solving a murder case in the town she's in. So, yeah, it's pretty good. Next book I read was Heartstopper 3. Yes, Heartstopper 3. Not my favorite one of them. I still gave it 4 or 5 stars, maybe like 4.5. It's better. It's still good, but I think I like the 4th one the best. I think that's a pretty common consensus, is the 4th one is the best. If you don't know what Heartstopper is, it's the story of Nick and Charlie, and they fall in love, basically, and it's pretty obvious from the beginning, like, that it's gonna be a love story. So I recommend reading it. The font is adorable on the cover. I freaking love it. Every once in a while I look at it and I'm like, yes. It's by Alice Oseman, so I gave it, I think, 4.5, 5 stars. Yeah. The next book I read after that was The Gunslinger by Stephen King. This was recommended by my friend Emma, and I need to read the rest of the series because there's like 7 or 8 books in the series, and I actually really liked it. So my thing with this book was the chapters. Let me find the table of contents. There are 5 chapters in this book. The book is... Oh, dog's barking again. Oh, she's so angry right now. The book is 251 pages long. Each chapter is 50 pages, roughly. So I was very slow getting through this book. Mind you, each chapter is divided into sections, you know, section 2, section 3. Some of the sections are really long. Some of them are short. Some of them are literally 2 sentences. So this book, what really sold me was the formatting. I don't like long chapters, but I did like the sectioning of each of the chapters. I thought it was interesting. I give it 4 stars, but it was probably closer to a 3.5. And I'll be completely honest, there were parts I skimmed in this book. But I'm excited to read the sequel. I've heard it gets better as it goes on, so. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't read the sequel, just being at 3.5, 4 stars. I'm like, I don't want to invest that much time into something if I don't know if I'm going to love it. You know, so. But yeah. Next one I read was Heartstopper 4. Still by Alice Oseman. This is my favorite Heartstopper. This is the biggest one. It's a chunky book. It's like a good... Let's see how many pages it is. Oh, I forget. There's a little... It's so cute. It's 350 pages, which is a good chunky graphic novel. I really liked it. Once again, 2 boys falling in love. It's adorable. My spreads for the Heartstopper books, I actually never filled out, so I probably wouldn't even post them on Instagram. I made them both, and then I never filled them out, because so much time has passed that I'm like, I don't even think I should at this point. Like, I don't remember. I mean, I do remember what happened in the books, but I don't remember, like, my initial reactions, and that's what I normally try to write down when I write down my book journal. And then, my last book of the year, but, like, the best one I read, was A Scatter of Light by Melinda Lowe, and I got the freaking Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, baby. Freaking copper foiling gorgeousness. The end papers are nebulas, clusters, and galaxies, and they're just gorgeous, and it's like, freaking love it. And then, of course, the Just Jacket is pretty, too, but, like, when the Bear book is, like, gorgeous on its own, it's amazing. So, this is such a freaking good book. It brought me so much joy to read it. It took me about a month and a half to get through, only because I was completely jealous of the friend group that was being established in this book. Like, I genuinely, like, if I could have all the friends that, I'm just gonna check. Aria. I'm so good at names, guys. That Aria could have, that she met, you know, while she was in California. Freaking love it. Would love them. Anyway, this is a companion novel to Last Night at the Telegraph Club. It takes place in 2013. And it's about Aria West going to live with her grandma in California for the summer. And BK, you know, It's Melinda Lowe. The stories are queer. That's her whole thing right now. I don't know, about her other stories, but at least Last Night at the Telegraph Club and this one, are both queer. But it was so freaking good. I honestly recommend this book to anyone that will be willing to read it. It's really, really good. And then my spread that I wrote for this one is just freaking gorgeous. I freaking love it. There are no words I can use to explain how much I love that book. So yeah, that was all the books I read from July to December of 2022. So yeah, if you guys have any recommendations, questions, whatever, leave them down in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But if you guys, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely day and happy reading.